Good morning, everyone. My name is John Rickzel Macalos from base HM3A, and I am here to discuss about the Chapter 7 of the Philippine Tourism Law, Laws Regulating Transportation Establishments. As for our learning objectives, identify laws affecting the transportation sector, identify the rights of passengers of commercial transportation, and explain the relevance of these laws to the promotion of tourism in the country. And here are the topic outlines from Law on Common Carriers to the Traffic Law. Now let's talk about the Law on Common Carriers. The Civil Code of the Philippines primarily governs carriers are stated in Article 1766, which differs to the Code of Commerce and special laws for matters not covered by the code. Article 1732 defines common carriers as entities transporting passengers or goods for compensation by land, water, or air offering services to the public. Article 1733 and 1755 requires common carriers to exercise extraordinary diligence in ensuring passenger safety and protecting goods considering all circumstances. Article 1756 and 1757 presume common carriers at fault for passenger injuries or death unless they prove extraordinary diligence, and their duty of care cannot be waived by any means. This means that common carrier's duty of extraordinary diligence begins the moment a passenger steps on to its platform or vehicle and continues until the passenger has safely left the carrier's premises. The relationship between the carrier and the passenger does not end immediately upon arrival at the destination, but extends until the passenger has had a reasonable time to disembark and exit the area safely. This ensures that the carrier remains responsible for passenger safety throughout the entire transit process. Now, let us talk about the liabilities of common carriers for the acts of employees and strangers. Holds common carriers liable for passenger injuries or death caused by their employees, even if acting beyond authority and diligence in hiring does not exempt them from liability. This means that a common carrier's duty of extraordinary diligence begins when a passenger steps onto its platform or vehicle and continues until they have safely left the carrier's premises. In liabilities of common carriers for the acts of employees and strangers, Article 1759 makes common carriers liable for passenger injuries or death caused by their employees, even if acting beyond authority and diligence in hiring does not exempt them. A bus company must do more than verify a driver's license. It must also assess qualifications, experience, and work history to ensure competence and passenger safety. Now let us shift our attention to the nature of airline, bus, and shipping tickets. A passage ticket is the best evidence of a contract of carriage, as a contract of adhesion in terms drafted solely by the carrier are interpreted against the carrier in case of ambiguity. This means that the contracts of adhesion, like airline or bus tickets, are legally valid and enforceable even if the passenger or shipper did not read the terms. While these contracts are drafted solely by the carrier, they are still binding unless proven to be unfair or unreasonable. Now, for registration of aircraft, this means that only aircraft owned or leased by Filipino citizens and not registered in another country can be registered in the Philippines. An aircraft cannot be registered in the Philippines if it is already legally recognized under the country's aviation laws. This means that an aircraft certificate or registration serves as a definitive proof of ownership, unless ownership is legally challenged in a proceeding or if the aircraft is only leased, in which case the lease is not considered the owner. Now, for registration of aircraft, this means that only aircraft owned or leased by Filipino citizens and not registered in another country can be registered in the Philippines. An aircraft cannot be registered in the Philippines if it is already legally recognized under the country's aviation laws. This means that an aircraft certificate or registration serves as a definitive proof of ownership, unless ownership is legally challenged in a proceeding or if the aircraft is only leased, in which case the lease is not considered the owner. Now let us talk about the importance of seatbelt and why there is a law about it. The seatbelt law mandates a seatbelt use for drivers and front seat passengers in private and public vehicles to protect against injuries from accidents. It is already self-explanatory. Seatbelts are meant to protect the driver and its passengers from harm just in case of accidents in order to avoid further injuries that might risk both the driver and the passenger's life. Now let's talk about the law on transportation of animals. Under the Animal Welfare Act of 1998, public transport operators must provide clean, safe facilities for animals and ensure adequate food and water during transit over 12 hours. To ensure passenger and crew safety, a Bureau quarantine shipping permit is required for animal transport. This requires a veterinary certification, including rabies vaccination for at least 30 days, and for agricultural animals clearance from COGIN and FMD tests. Law on Importation of Vehicles. Republic Act 7227 allows the free flow of goods and capital in Subic Bay Freeport, encouraging investments with minimal government intervention, benefiting the transport of business. And the Public Service Law. Public service covers individuals or entities operating transportation services in the Philippines for hire, including common carriers, railways, motor vehicles, ships, ferries, and shipyards. This means that public utilities are privately owned businesses that provide essential services to the general public, such as transportation, electricity, water, and telecommunications. These enterprises are dedicated to serving public needs and contribute to people's comfort and convenience by ensuring access to vital services. Despite being privately run, they are often subject to government regulations to ensure fair pricing, accessibility, and quality of service. Now I'm going to show you about the traffic laws. Republic Act number 4136 enacted June 20, 1964 compiles traffic laws. Key provision includes first, motor vehicles must be registered with the LTO to operate on public highways. Second is the tourist may use their vehicles for up to 90 days without registration. Three is public utility vehicles require a certificate of public convenience and follow public service law. Fourth is a valid driver's license is required to operate any motor vehicles. Five is overloading passengers or cargo beyond capacity is prohibited. And lastly, vehicles must have essential safety accessories like brakes, lights, and mufflers for safety reasons. And this concludes my discussion. Thank you so much for listening.